Thank you so much for being here. We really, really appreciate it. We know how busy you are having just IPOed and in general, just managing such a huge company that is so young as well.
Sure. Great to chat with you.
With everyone who has been on this podcast before, the first piece of advice we always get is don't go into an industry you have no idea about. Like, why would you do that? You're going to spend years working somewhere that you might not even love, that you might not enjoy, that you don't have much knowledge about. And I just wanted to understand this exception that is Lemonade and the success of Lemonade, and figure out what made you want to take that jump into the insurance industry.
It's a great question. And I'll share of my experience, but I guess a cautionary note, you can't necessarily copy paste and it's different for every person. But when we took on insurance, both Shai, my co-founder, and I were looking for kind of our next big thing. And insurance was not high on the list. I was going on what felt at the time like a meandering journey. In retrospect, I can present it as a kind of structured review of different industries. At any rate, when it came to insurance, I discovered a space that was hiding in plain sight. I'd never thought of insurance, but suddenly I looked at it and I was like, wow, this is stunningly big. Every household, 100% household penetration, trillions of dollars worldwide, 11% of GDP in America. You're talking about this mother industry that everyone's missed it. It's such a gray, boring industry that it's really the technology revolution has just passed it by, and it's still being run by the same companies that ran the show 100 years ago and sometimes 200 years ago. And you're like, wow. And then you say, well, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. But it's also deeply distrusted, deeply unliked. And that's really the trifecta: big, unchanged, and unloved. Those three come together, it's ding, ding, ding. And as an entrepreneur, kind of the lights went up. And I joined with Shai and we started looking into it. But to your point, we actually didn't look into it too much. And what I mean by that is the advice that we got, like the advice that you say previous spokespeople on your podcast have given, is, well, you guys don't know anything about insurance. And you'd have thought that you at least go and, okay, let's quickly catch up. Let's learn a lot about insurance. Let's type in insurance in Wikipedia and see what it says. And we quite intentionally did not do that. We quite intentionally decided that we're going to spend a couple of months in front of a whiteboard and doing some first principles thinking. And I think that it was a huge advantage. It's very hard to unknow things. And if you grew up in the insurance industry, it doesn't matter how much of a free thinker you are, your frame of reference is what you know. And it's very hard to break out of concepts that have become entrenched in your mindset. And ignorance is valuable in that sense, because you get to go back and say, okay, I don't know anything about insurance, but I understand probability theory. And there are things that I do know. And this is kind of back to our point about taking stuff from one job to the next. Between us, we knew a fair amount about direct to consumer. We knew about the sharing economy. We knew about building technology. We knew about the disruptive forces of technology. We knew about brand building. We knew about marketing. So we had some of the tools of the trade, oftentimes ones that insurance companies lacked. And we didn't know anything about insurance, but we said, okay, let's think as consumers, how would we want to consume an insurance product today? And I do think quite strongly that while we've learned a lot about insurance along the way, for us, it was an advantage, not a disadvantage. Now, we came with a blank slate in terms of our insurance thinking, but not in terms of all of our thinking. We were cross-pollinating, right? We were taking ideas, modes of operation, techniques, technologies, relationships that we had from prior lives, and we were transplanting them into a new industry. So I don't feel like we were starting from scratch on all measures, but we were starting from scratch in insurance, and therein lay the strength of what we were doing, frankly. It wasn't a weakness, it was a strength.